Yo, what's going on out there on the internet? My name is TheSchwantz27, and it's another Worlds Collide Wednesday. Today we are doing our Ultros League Ocean Sea race between two of our runners in that particular division for our Ultros League, which is sort of our league that we do with our races of a quote-unquote standard type race. So what the heck are we even watching? So Worlds Collide is an open world randomizer for Final Fantasy VI, or as some people in North America might know it, as Final Fantasy III. The objective of the game, as you see there, is to unlock Final Kefka, that we do recruit 6 characters and obtain 9 espers in order to get our unlock done. So Worlds Collide is an open world randomizer for Final Fantasy. I'm wondering why I'm getting this feedback here. That's very interesting. Sorry about that. Let me know if you're hearing double of me out there in Twitch land. There is an echo. Great, wonderful. Has it gone away? Okay, it's gone away. So that's at least good. If it comes back up, let me know, and I will poke somebody about that. Anyway, so what's randomized in Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide? With tons of different stuff. The items that you find in shops, the items that you find in treasure chests, the characters and espers where you find them and recruit them, the spells that are on espers, the commands that are on characters, the bosses are shuffled from their original locations, So there's tons of different randomization about this particular game. And this is a speed run, so we are timing these two runners that have both the same random seed, as you can see by the little hash with the 4 NPCs there at the top. And that's our goal. We will start out with 3 characters, as you can see on the tracker on the bottom. But our 3 characters can be any 3 characters. And in Worlds Collide, you do have access to the airship right away, and you can go anywhere you want. However, what will reward you, either characters or espers or items, depends on the characters that you have. It's sort of a character gating concept, because this isn't a randomizer that has a key item in it. So, for instance, if we have Locke will open up and give available rewards at the South Figaro Cave tunnel armor position, the Norse weapon shop in the World of Ruin, and the Phoenix Cave. So it kind of goes with the characters that you acquire. It's sort of backwards in that sort of way, and it takes a little bit to get used to, but once you do, you'll see what the logic of the seed sort of takes us to. We also give our runners 3 Moogle charms. That's 1 for each party in Kefka's tower, and they can either quit the Moogle. They can rather equip the Moogle charm if they want to avoid all of the random encounters that are in the game, or they can keep it on or take it off. And if they take it off, then that's how you do your little grind fights to get off of level 3. So how this is done is our runners are off and going here. We'll see what 3 characters we get. We get Locke and Gogo and Setzer. We'll see what particular commands they have. Locke with Capture, Setzer with Control and Natural Magic, and then Gogo can equip basically any command onto their command list. So that's always an interesting character to have here. So as far as our 3 characters, I already mentioned, the different areas that Locke has available to us. The different areas that Gogo has available to us is only one, the Zone Eater Cave, where you recruit Gogo and Vanilla. And then Setzer will open up 3 different areas. One is the Colingen Inn, where you recruit him in the vanilla game. That's a Minerva in a chest right away. One of the best pieces of armor in the game. There's also a 33% chance that the item that you have will be able to be equipped by your character if they were not in the vanilla game. So that's sort of how our equipable pool goes. So it's kind of interesting to do it in that manner. So sometimes you'll find a great piece of gear and you won't be able to actually use it right away. As we are seeing the Curse Shield here, which is available to Locke. It is 10 battles. Normally that is a number between 3 and 14, We got 10 now. 10 is a bit of a high number for a cursed shield, but we did get a ribbon in one of those first 6 chests that we opened up. And the ribbon will nullify all of the bad effects of the cursed shield. And here's our first check at the Narsh weapon shop. We get a choice between 2 high-tier items, an ice shield or a Genji glove. Sid and Saberwolf both go for the ice shield, so that'll give them some elemental protection, and it'll teach the Ice 2 spell at a 5 times rate. There are some monsters that don't give XP. In the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide Rando, all bosses will give XP. So it's slightly different from vanilla, where you don't get XP from bosses. And here we see a little dip into the monster in a box, and it is Katana Soul. That's one of the ones we usually like to see because it has the possibility of getting an offering. So our runners now know, or at least Saberwolf now knows, where the Katana Soul is for later on in the game, in case they want to go ahead and decide to fight it. Shadow Sid also finds it as well, with an instant reset out. So that's pretty good game knowledge to know right away where the Katana Soul is, because there are several items that our characters can use by their default equipables that will synergize well with the offering. The Valiant Knife for Locke, and the Fixed Ice for Setzer. And remember, there's a 33% chance that other people can equip one of those items too. So how the game determines how difficult the enemies are is based on your scaling. And in this case, the scaling is based on how many characters you have, how many espers you have, and how many dragons you've defeated. And we multiply that by 2 as we get Realm there with tools for Shadow Sid in the Colin Jinin. So that's character number 4 for Shadow Sid. He's now just increased all of the levels of all of his enemies, that includes the bosses, by a 2 times rate. And there's a Thunder Rod for sale in that particular shop. So in Worlds Collide, we have increased the price of Thunder Rods and all other elemental rods to be either 3 or 4. I think it's 4 times what they are in the vanilla game, because rods are just a very powerful item that were way too cheap in the normal game. So we decided to give it a balance patch sort of thing, where they are now much more expensive than they were in the normal game. A couple of Magus hats there in that shop. That'll give +5 magic power to people who wear that, and it's very cheap, so that's a good item to buy right off the bat. Items in shops are randomized, and their values are within a random percentage of what they are in the vanilla game. Oh, nice red jacket there in the pot. That's a piece of armor that will nullify out fire magic, so that's really nice. Yet another ribbon from Sid here in the Returner's hideout. So you'll notice the first, couple of minutes of any Worlds Collide seed is going around to a few different towns, picking out some treasure chests, and trying to figure out what we have in the seed and what we're working with. So there's a heal rod and a chest there, something very nice to sell if we want to. A couple of stores have some mega elixirs for sale. They're a bit expensive at the moment now, as Saberwolf is looking to perhaps trim his party down. So one of the things you usually do with Go-Go in your party is, if you have access to Zone Eater, you can have the Zone Eater engulf only one of your characters instead of 3 or potentially 4, and that just makes that part go all that much faster. So Saberwolf is in Famasa, World of Balance here. There are 6 chests, and there's a whole bevy of shops here around, and all of these items are pretty easy within reach. Another ribbon. So our runners have found 3 different ribbons so far. We'll see if any of them decides to do the Cursed Shield. I think Saberwolf sold one of his ribbons, but he just got another one back. So we'll see if they decide to put on that Cursed Shield here. Little Atlas Armlet and Dragoon Boots there in that shop, so that'll be nice in case we get a good item for one of our characters to use. Our starting commands are not that great. We have Capture, which basically is a fight plus steal command. We have Control, which actually was buffed in Worlds Collide to always do the rage ability of the enemy, and it will use the caster's stats instead of the monster stats, so this way it's buffed up a little bit there. Aura Lance in the shop Setzer can equip it. So if Saberwolf decides to find those Dragoon boots later, that would make a nice build for Saberwolf. So one of the things our runners are doing is they are constantly looking for what's going to get me through this very next check, as we call it, in order to get our reward. And then what is going to get us, what are we going to do for the end of the game? What's our end game build looking like? So a jumper with a very powerful lance like an Aura Lance is certainly something for the end of the game. So Saberwolf probably made a note of it and will come back later if he doesn't find anything good enough there. Shadow Sid taking the long way around for that chest, getting a decent helmet with a circlet. A couple of X potions in some of these treasure chests as well. We'll see if Sid decides to go through the basement of South Figaro. There is a ton of treasure down there. And if we had Celeste, we could do the South Figaro prisoner check here. Just a note, we do have Realm from Shadow Sid. So Realm will open up 2 different checks. Esper Mountain, where you sort of quote-unquote recruit her in the vanilla game in the World of Balance. And then Owzer's Mansion in World of Ruin Jador. So we don't have a ton of options open to us as to where to go next, but certainly enough in order for our runners to make do. They're just right now looking for that item, that thing that'll push them over the edge. And the Thunder Rod in the shop certainly will do it, but again, you need to sell a lot of things. And there's some Tiger Fangs and some Doom Darts in a chest there. Those are pretty powerful weapons, but they're even better to sell. So we'll see if Shadow Sid decides to do that as well. By the way, if there are any questions, just throw them in the chat. I will be happy to answer them. ff6worldscollide.com is our website. You can also follow us at ff6_WC on Twitter, at ff6WC on Instagram. So we are on the socials. And we do a race every week here on SpeedGaming, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. There's also a link to our Discord there as well. So you can come join the community, and if you are enjoying what you're seeing, you could run a race for yourself. So we got some decent stuff here between the Ice Shield and all of the other defensive powered items. I'm not seeing a whole lot of offensive powered items right now. So Sid taking it very careful in the World of Ruin, because you could accidentally run into Doomgaze and he'll show you a good time. Saberwolf there does decide to pick up the Dragoon boots, so he's thinking long term there with that particular build. Shadow Sid in the World of Ruin, South Figaro. So the World of Ruin, the treasure chests are different on the outside of the building. However, the basement you can only loot once. So he's taking advantage of that fact, and he's going to do some double dipping here, buying himself some earrings. Those will give you a boost to your magic damage, and they do stack. So if you have 2 earrings, you get 50% magic power, or 50% magic damage. 1 earring is 25%. Not a whole lot of weapons in these shops, though. Maneater is a okay knife. Nothing to go crazy about. Does deal twice as much damage to quote-unquote human targets. And there are a bunch of different bosses in the game that are considered human targets. There's a Noise Blaster, which he already has for Realm. So he could actually probably go back and kill Katana Soul with that Noise Blaster, do it sort of the vanilla way, which is to confuse or muddle Katana Soul. The Noise Blaster allows for that. Is Final Kefka a human target is one of the questions. I believe he is. I will double check that, but I'm pretty sure that he is. Along with Goddess, for some reason, is considered a human target. Dataluma, Vargas, some of the bosses you would normally consider human targets. Leader, although Leader's kind of a pushover anyway. Yeah, so Final Kefka is considered human, even though he's sort of a god at that point, right? And it looks like Shadow Sid is heading into the Phoenix Cave, so this is a check where you have to split up your party. There is a bunch of treasure chests in here, and there's an optional dragon Although I don't foresee Shadow Sid taking on the dragon here. Because again, you have to split your party, and it looks like he's damaging himself on the spikes here. So this, even though it's considered a free check, since it's a long way to get over there, this is not considered for the free progression in the game. So I like this play by Sid here. I like to do Phoenix Cave early if I can, and I absolutely loathe doing it late, because this will take a bit of time. This takes about 3 to 4 minutes of time. There's about 8 or so treasure chests in the normal path on the way here. And there is Realm for Saberwolf as well. So he gets his 4th character, Saberwolf, Realm with Natural Magic. So we found both Natural Magic users in the seed. So Terra and Celeste's Natural Magic get randomized onto 2 other characters. And in this particular seed, it picks Setzer for 1 and Realm for the other. The spells that are on the Natural Magic are randomized, however. So they will get them at the same levels that they get them in vanilla. But the spell that they earn will be random. So if you're interested in, perhaps taking your love of the Final Fantasy VI game to the next level, you can join our Ultros League, of which this is one of the matchups. So that's ultrosleague.com. Signups are still going. You could still get in on the first week of signups. This is the first week of Season 3. You will be entered in at the bottom division. So this is the Potion division. This is one division up from Tonic. There's also the Elixir division. That's where I'm in, Elixir A. And then there's the cream of the crop Mega Elixir division for the top like 1% of our community. So top 8 racers are in that division. So yeah, I like this move by Shadow Sid doing Phoenix Cave now. Additionally, you always have to do a party reform at the end of Phoenix Cave. So that might be an ideal time to set your party down to 1 and then perhaps go over to do the Zone Eater check, which is one of Gogo's checks. You also don't have to fight any battles in there, so that one is pretty safe as well. Ooh, wow, it is Gao. So that's character number 5 already for Shadow Sid. And Gao gets 2 different abilities because he has Leap and Rage, and he gets Health and Lore in this particular seed. We do give our runners some starting lores. I think it's anywhere between 3 and 5. And how lore works in Worlds Collide is you just have to witness the spell. Anyone does. It doesn't have to necessarily be the lore user. However, since we got Gao so early on in the seed, even if Gao is not in our party, he'll still learn the lore. And it looks like Shadow Sid's going to do the Velt check right away, although he's only doing it with 1 person in his party. So this is an interesting twist. Meanwhile, Saberwolf is heading into the South Figaro Cave, which is one of Locke's checks. So since Shadow Sid has not fought any other monsters, you will only find Lobo here on the Velt. Ooh, a Thunder Shield from a chest there from Saberwolf. So that'll be nice to teach one of our characters that magical spell. Looks like it'll go on Locke there. Yeah, as you see, since Shadow Sid's on level 3, and his progression is already 5 plus 0 plus 0 times 2. So he's already up to level 10 of his enemies. And now there's another character, Celeste, here. So he's going to be already at 6 characters. And unfortunately, he won't be because Gogo does not have an item command. Oof. Cannot actually give the dried meat. Oh, F's in the chat for that one. That one's awful. You hate to see it happen. Meanwhile, on Saberwolf's screen is a pair of Daedaloses. These are actually undead enemies, so what you could do is you could drop a Revivify or a Phoenix down on them, and they'll just keel over and die instantly. Much easier than trying to flash them to death. Yeah, so GoGo, you can customize their menu to be whatever commands you want. And Sid obviously forgot to use the the item command. And there you see the insta-death from the chainsaw from Saberwolf. So very nice there. And now we finally have our Celeste. Celeste with steel. So not great commands for our characters to use here so far in the early game. Meanwhile, Shadow Sid looks like they're going to take a bit of a respite here and hit up World of Balance Mobliz. This is a town I don't often see, but it has a full bevy of shops. It has a weapon shop, armor shop, item shop, and relic shop, as well as one chest in here. Meanwhile, Saberwolf, after doing some grinding, is going to fight Vargas in the Apple Toilets, the eye poos. So if we had Blitz, and if we use the Pummel Blitz, we could actually end this fight right away in the vanilla game, similar to that. However, we don't get any XP from the fight, so we don't have Blitz, so that's not a big deal anyway. And Vargas and the Pooh Bears will be a pretty easy opponent. Saberwolf's enemies are at level 8 because they're at level 4 times 2. Whereas Sid's are at level 12 now. Sid talking to Setzer, getting an earful. Yeah, there's a lot of good runners in Ultros League. It tends to, like, you know, be pretty beefy throughout most of the different divisions. If you sign up now, you will be put into the Tonic division. So there still is room to sign up for the Ultros League. That's at ultrosleague.com. And it's a great way to get to familiarize yourself with the game and to also meet people who are interested in the game and also improve yourself. Because after each race, you get access to a spoiler channel where you just get to discuss the game. That's Speed +2 and Berserk on that Esper there for Saberwolf Carbuncle, the first one that I think we've seen so far this seed. Shadow Sid has not gone to the Figaro basement, has he? Alright, so Saberwolf is going to head into World of Balance Narsh here. Unfortunately, since we already looted these chests in the World of Ruin, it doesn't matter. However, he knows that Katana Soul is here, so it looks like he's going to go ahead and do a save, use that Noise Blaster, and blast away Katana Soul. Katana Soul doesn't give MP, or rather doesn't give any XP, but will give you 25 magic points, and it will also give you a boatload of cash. So this is a pretty good play very early on in the seed, especially if you can easily kill Katana Soul just like that. You can fuse it, and it will Slayer Edge himself. There's a happy dance from Saberwolf, getting past Katana Soul so early on in the seed. Very nice play. Great heads-up knowledge there. Shadow Sid, meanwhile, is going in the back entrance of the South Figaro Cave, has taken off his Moogle Charm, and he's doing some grind fights here. These ones are a bit tough, and I don't know if they give a ton of XP. Ooh, 3 out of 4 is bad, Meatloaf. When you're talking about dead people on the floor. Celeste only survived that because of the Minerva that nullifies out lightning, fire, and ice magic, and technically Diffuser is considered a lightning spell. Yeah, so now Sid is going to decide to take on a grind battle in a different environment. These Osteosaurs are also undead, so he's going to go ahead and give a Revivify to it and say, "Thank you very much, good sir. See you later." So there is a flag in our Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide options to turn off the undead property for bosses. So you cannot do this with Phantom Train or Senor Behemoth or any of the undead bosses, but you could still do it to undead enemies. And it's important to know what your undead enemies are. Oh, here's a rough fight, Tyrannosaur. If he gets through it, though, this is a ton of XP and MP. And it looks like he's not going to bother here. There are tons of options to customize your Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide seed. And we do have other interesting things, like we've got some bug fixes. So the evade bug is fixed in Worlds Collide. The Vanished Doom bug is no longer possible in Worlds Collide. Things like that. The sketch glitch, the infinite retort glitch. And here comes Daryl's tomb. So Daryl's tomb is one of Setzer's checks. We can actually read what the reward is on the inscription of the tomb before we open it. However, we must fight the boss fight after we read the inscription. So if it's something we don't want, we'll reset. But in Saberwolf's case, he's looking for both characters and espers. It doesn't matter. If this was Shadowsid, on the other hand, and it was another character, he might want to reset out of it. All right, so Sid grabs a few grind fights under his belt here and decides that he is now off and running. So if you go ahead to a different background, you can change what enemy monster encounters are here. And here's another smart move by Sid. I like this a lot. We're going to go through another one of Gao's checks, the Serpent Trench. There are between 3 and 5 forced encounters here in the Serpent Trench, and there are no bosses here in the trench. So I really like this in order to help Sid level up, because he definitely dug himself into a hole in terms of his progression. He got up to 6 characters without taking a fight. So his enemies are all level 12, and he was level 3. He's now a little bit higher than that. Oh god, it's Siegfried. These are just some awful, awful encounters here for Sid. So Sid is doing the runaway, or Siegfried skip, as I like to call it. When you get Siegfried, if you hold the run buttons immediately when his dialogue starts, you can run away when he does his first pitch of ha 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 guys, and then he'll run away before going into his battle script. So that's something that I like to do, because it makes that fight a whole heck of a lot faster. Here's another really nice fight in terms of XP and MP. Woolly Carcass. Those carcasses on top are undead, so we could toss a Revivify at it, and those will go away. Let's see what's on the tomb. The Cat Hood sleeps here, so unfortunately, this is a dead check, but Saberwolf is going to take this fight anyway if it's something easy, and it's a pair of tap dancers with Marshall. So for those of you that are saying, wait a second, Marshall is in the game now? So there is an additional check that we added with the most recent iteration of the game that will allow for the Moogle defense towards the beginning of the game, where Terra falls on her head and Locke and the Moogles have to save her. So that is now one of the optional checks for Mog in the game. So question in the chat, Siegfried is harmless in vanilla. He's harmless in the randomizer as well. It's just a time thing. He takes so very, very long to get through all of the cutscene part of his battle, right? It takes forever for him to talk, and we just want him to shut up and get out of the fight, because he doesn't give you any XP, and he only gives you 5 GP, really, so it's not worth fighting Siegfried ever at all. Saberwolf, meanwhile, gets his cat hood, and since Realm is in the party and can naturally equip that cat hood, that's a good reason to take that item, especially with the Marshall Tap Dancer fight. That's a pretty easy one. And he won't increase the scaling because he didn't get either a character or an Esper there. So it's a very nice play from Saberwolf. Cat Hood, one of the best helmets in the game. It will actually allow us to get all of the GP possible from a battle. So that's a really nice one to have. Meanwhile, on Shadowsid's screen, you get to see the better control. So control is much better than it used to be, where it uses the caster stats and not the monster stats. Monster stats in this game are notoriously low compared to the stats of casters. Saberwolf, meanwhile, is selling some stuff for cash to buy an Aura Lance. So So that is what his Setzer is going to be doing. Those Dragoon Boots plus that Aura Lance. And it looks like he's going to head into one of Realms Check's Esper Mountain here. So note that even though the Siegfried in random encounters is the pretty harmless one, if you fight Siegfried in the Colosseum, it is the Colosseum Siegfried that's the more difficult one. That will use things like Hyperdrive and Ultima and all sorts of fun goodness. Saberwolf, meanwhile, seeing an Imp Sprite there running around, so that means that this check will not reward a character. It's either an Esper or an item, because that's an NPC. If it was a character, then we would see the character sprite running around there. So this is one of those what we would call peekable checks. Unfortunately, number 128 is not weak to ice, actually absorbs ice. It's weak to water and lightning, so this is going to heal the boss. So how I like to remember it is Inferno sounds like a fire boss. Inferno absorbs fire. Number 128 is like the little brother of Inferno, so he'll absorb the opposite element of Inferno, which is ice. Another difficult fight for Sid, but if he can get through it, he'll get a lot of XP, and as you can see, all of these creatures on screen are actually undead, so you could just revivify every single one of these and have them go away. And that's our first boss? Dead of the Seed? No, we defeated Marshall and Tap Dancer, which is, I guess you can consider that a boss. Anyway, more magic getting learned from both those Ice Shields and the Thunder Shield there, and Saberwolf is going to get himself his second Magicite there. So these two are even on progression right now, with Saberwolf at 4+2 and Shadow Sid at 0+6. And you see just how sometimes you cannot run up the score without doing any battles, because it'll make your fights that much more difficult. Saberwolf here is going to pick up a few treasure chests. I'm not sure if they have a warp stone or not. You can actually warp out of here. It seems like he just wanted a couple of extra treasure chests there. Getting a Force Armor, which is pretty nice. That's some good armor. It'll cut magic damage in half by 50. And it also gives you plus 50 magic evade, which will be helpful for the final Kefka battle with Tier 3 and Meteo. Shadow Sid, meanwhile, is finally out of the Serpent Trench after a very lengthy set of encounters there. Saberwolf is at level 17, and Shadow Sid, I believe, was at 13? No, 15. So you better watch out for possible Doom Gaze, and that is not great stuff on Starlet. Muddle would be useful for Katana Soul, but we already have a Noise Blaster. So not a great Esper, but hey, it is progression, and he definitely doesn't need another character right now. Meanwhile, Saberwolf's in World of Ruin J'adore, where Owzer's Mansion and the Auction House are options for rewards here. Enhancer's a great item there, plus 7 magic power to whoever equips it. Yeah, so there was an offering for sale in Ikea there. It sells for almost 50,000, but remember, both of our runners know where Katana Soul is, and they both have an easy method of killing Katana Soul. So if they need a second offering for whatever reason, then yeah, we'll go back to Ikea. But I would much rather go and fight Katana Soul in Narsh, get my easy reward, and be done with it. Cash money there in the pot for Saberwolf, that's very nice. Especially if he's thinking about doubling up and doing Owzer's Mansion plus the Auction House. Looks like Sid is taking his party down to 1, and you know what this means, boys and girls. It is time for a good old Zone Eater trip. We'll see how many bridge throws do you think we'll get out of Sid. Give us your predictions in the chat. I'm gonna be nice and just say 1 throw. He's gonna get 1 toss. Meanwhile, Saberwolf is putting that offering to good use. I think he either has a sniper or a Hawkeye. I'm not quite sure which item it is here. Is he going to show it to us? It's a sniper. So that's great, and that's what Locke is going to be doing for the rest of the game. We also have an endgame build going on Setzer with the Aura Lance and the jump. So there are 9 treasure chests here in Zone Eater, but you don't want to get all of them because that means you got thrown off at some point. And first try! Let's go, Sid! He went for the okie doke right in front of that Chancellor. Call him John Cena. You can't see me. I'm gonna just go right past you. And nobody said 0 falls. Nobody had faith in Sid. Alright, watch out for the ceiling crush here. It is possible to get the 1 cycle. I don't think he's going to get it, though. Some of the item descriptions on treasure chests, if they're too long, then that actually interrupts the cycle of the ceiling collapsing. And Minerva's a bit of a long one there. And let's see, there's another imp painting a picture. So that means that this is going to be either an Esper or an item here at this particular spot. And oh boy, this is one of the endgame bosses, Guardian. Thankfully, he is scaled down to only level 12 in this set of options here. So yeah, that's a second Minerva for Sid, and that's an Esper on the ground there, a nice shiny stone, Seraphim. So all of a sudden, Sid has the same amount of Espers as Saberwolf does. Saberwolf using that Thunder Shield that he found in the South Figaro Cave to very nice effects here, because Guardian is weak to lightning. So using the Bolt spell, and then going ahead and doing the same with Gogo as well. I don't think we saw what the lures were for Gao. Remember, you do start out with between 3 and 5 lures, and they could be some very powerful ones, or they could be some pretty not so great ones. And that's Dead Guardian over there for Saberwolf, which is really nice to get that boss out of the way. So, since the bosses are shuffled, that means we can only encounter them once per seed in this particular set of options. So, we have just defeated a Kefka Tower boss, and that means we're not going to see Guardian inside of Kefka's Tower. Oh boy, jackpot for Saberwolf. That's a dragon horn. Even though this is dead check, that is exactly what the doctor ordered there. Very nice. Oh, look at that, Esper. Fire 3 and speed +2. I think there was life 2 on that one as well. So Saberwolf definitely getting the better end of the Espers so far. You saw the absolute gutter tier trash that was on the Espers from Shadow Sid. So Saberwolf can head out of Jador here. He does not check the auction house to see if there are any Espers. So you can get a door hint from the NPC. The NPC will say glowing stones are still available if there are some Espers in the auction house. So that might have been some decent information about what we do later. So let's see. The Tizen Thief, just shy of 29,000. We don't know if this is an Esper or an item here in the world of Ruin Tizen. If we go to the world of Balance Tizen, then that NPC will tell us what he's selling. Unfortunately, Shadow Sid Celeste is stopped, and that's another Magicite there, Alexander. So that's number 3. Another speed +2 Esper. Saberwolf's party's gonna be flying. Zoom! Speedy, speedy. So for those of you that are joining late, what the heck are you watching? This is not a Link to the Past randomizer. This is Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. It's an open world Final Fantasy VI, or as the cool kids from way back in the day used to call it, Final Fantasy III. That's Cure 2 on that Esper as well, by the way. So both Fire 2, Fire 3, and Cure 2. Very nice. Where all of the items, chests, and shops are randomized. All the characters and Espers locations are randomized. The spells that you can learn on Espers are randomized. The commands that our characters have are randomized. The bosses are shuffled. and all sorts of fun stuff happens. Our goal is to get to 6 characters and 9 espers, as you can see on the tracking sheet. This is not a key item hunt, so it doesn't matter which characters and which espers we get. That will unlock the final Kefka boss, and then we just have to run up to Kefka's tower and defeat him. I think Saberwolf is out of options here for where his character is besides Phoenix Cave and Kefka at Narsh. Right? Because Daryl's Tomb was not a character, Esper Mountain was not a character, Alger's Mansion was not a character. So he's stuck with either Phoenix Cave or Kefka at Narsh, and Saberwolf's deciding, let's go into Phoenix Cave here. So there must be a logical path through the seed in order to beat it. Kefka at Narsh is one of those interesting plays because it forces you to split your party into 2. So unless you have either 4 or 5 characters in order to split your party and get at least 3 for the boss fight, I tend to shy away from Kefka at Narsh until I get 4 or 5 characters under my belt. But in this particular case, if we know that we probably won't be using Go-Go for our final party, maybe it's okay to go with just the 3 characters because we're not going to want to beef up Go-Go anyway. Meanwhile, Shadow Sid is following Celeste's checks and is going to head into the Magitech factory. This is actually a 3-part check. The first and second areas here can only reward an Esper and an item, and the third is guaranteed to be a character or an Esper. So you can warp out after the first 2 parts. We'll see if he decides to do that. Meanwhile, Saberwolf is sort of railroaded into Phoenix Cave. Like I mentioned earlier, his other option would be Kefka at Narsh, and we have not seen what Kefka at Narsh's reward is yet. FF6worldscollide.com is our website in case you are interested in learning more information about this randomizer. There's a link to our Discord. There's probably a link to a wiki in there somewhere where there's tons of information of all these facts that I'm spitting at you guys and girls and moogles in the chat. Let's see. Saberwolf is going to go for the chest. Is he going to take on the dragon? He is. Interesting choice here. So in Worlds Collide, the dragons are shuffled amongst themselves. So this is not the red dragon. This is the dirt dragon, and this is actually one of the worst dragons to find here. Thankfully, we have ice, which is... it's not really the weakness of the dirt dragon. Water is. We could also burn it with fire as well. Meanwhile, oof! 2 party members down for Sid as we got the other mechanical boss here, Inferno. So that's the second Kefka Tower boss we found. Nice juicy sniper procs there from Saberwolf. The sniper has 190 or so battle power, and it will sometimes do 3 times the damage on floating targets. So it's really nice to have a sniper, especially with an offering here, because you can increase the chances of your procs. Dragons, as Saberwolf dies and does a little happy dance here, dragons will give you a lot of XP, 50 MP. They're vanilla drops, so in the Dirt Dragon's case, it's a Magus Rod, and it will also drop you a high-tier item because it's considered a check. However, it also increases your scaling by 2 levels, but that, ladies and gentlemen, is an experience egg. Whew! That is some juicy stuff as that drop there. Too bad we couldn't get that one earlier. That will double the XP that your characters get from fights. That is probably the best item in the entire game, because more so than anything, levels matter in Worlds Collide. We're about halfway through the seed now, though, so it's not as nice as if you would have gotten it earlier. But then again, if you're going to get it earlier, then that means you're going to have to take on the dragon with a party of 3, right? Because you're splitting the party here. Shadow Sid, meanwhile, is having a difficult time with Inferno, so he decides to do an AoE attack to try and kill off one of the arms. Ooh, little limit break action there out from Locke. Let's go! Unfortunately, he only has 2 of his 4 characters alive, which means that the XP only goes on to those 2 characters. And that is Gao for Saberwolf here. So he's going to check out what Gao's got. A little health, a little lore action. Is going to keep 3 characters in his party and is probably going to head to the Velt check right now. So in order to get the reward for Gao, you need to have at maximum 3 characters here. And even though Sid's timer is running, his screen is frozen. Come on, Sid. Yeah, so Sid's stream is still up. It's just his game is frozen. This is what happens when you do limit breaks, people. They crash the game. Oh, there we go. Maybe he just paused his emulator for a second, answer the door, or something like that. So Saberwolf just sent me a message and says, "Gotta feed my girl." Saberwolf, his favorite character in the game is Celeste. So there we go. Nom nom nom. So yeah, Shadow Sid said his emulator has bugged out, which is not fun because his timer is now shot and his tracker is now shot. I did not see what that reward was, if it was an Esper or an item. Other people agree that Celeste is the best character. In Worlds Collide, I actually love Gao, because Gao has a chance of multiple commands, right? Since both Leap and Rage are replaced. Which means he could have 2 really bad commands. Or he could have a better chance at having a good command, and his checks are also really nice. The Velt, as we just saw, is a super duper easy and fast check, and it always rewards progression. It's always either a character or an Esper. And the Serpent Trench is also really nice because it is forced encounters without a boss, and it's literally right next to the Velt. Got some Team Terras in the chat as well. What is everybody else's favorite character? Hefe says Magimaster. So in Worlds Collide, Magimaster, there is an option for him to not cast Ultima upon death, because since all of the Esper's magic spells are randomized, we are never guaranteed to have life 3 in a seed. So in order to make that battle not impossible, we have it so that there is no Ultima on Magimaster, which is a bit of a bummer, but at the same time it's understandable, because otherwise that would just be a soft lock essentially for the game. Ooh, lock is down again over there on Sid's screen. Going for the X zone, so Larry can actually be instant death. So X zone, Doom, stuff like that will work on Larry. You want to take out the Stooge on the top, Curly first, because Curly will both revive and bring back to life the other Stooges. There you go. See you later, Larry. Off to another dimension with Yi. Only 9 seconds left on Celeste's Cursed Shield, though, here, so we better hurry up with this fight. Oh, Locke and sets her down again. I feel a Chumbawamba song coming on in my head. They get knocked down. They're not getting up for this fight, though, unfortunately. That's another Magicite for Sid, and I'm going to see here whether we got 4 or 5. It looks like we got 5. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. I can't count. So it looks like Sid is going to continue on in the Magitech factory. So he could have warped out after that second spot, but he's going to continue on here to the Indiana Jones Fun Spectacular, where you have 3 forced encounters, a boss fight, and then a second boss fight, but there is a story heal in between the 2 boss fights. Some more love for Siegfried. Siegfried is just a big time waste in the Worlds Collide, Rando. Speaking of Sid, so Sid is getting pushed by Sid on a minecart ride. It's like Inception here. Our glorious Mode 7 graphics. Meanwhile, Saberwolf, with access to Bolt 2, is going to take care of Inferno pretty quickly, especially with that pogo stick that Setzer is using there. Very nicely done. Well, you kind of have Mog in this seed with the Moogle suit with Realm. What do we think, chat? Do we think that the Moogle suit is actual real Moogle, or is it a synthetic fabric? I don't want this to be like a Mink situation where, you know, we have to cringe at what the Moogle suit is made out of. That is an Atma weapon, so it was not an Esper at the first spot. Atma weapon is one of the better items in the game. It doesn't really come online until later on in the seed, level 32 to be exact. However, Saberwolf has an experience egg from that dragon fight, so he's going to immediately put the Atma weapon on his experience egg user. Atma weapon gets better with levels, so the more levels you get, the stronger Atma weapon gets, so it's very good. So a question from the chat from SP Ridley. How many fights for the Curse Shield? In this seed, it was 10. So Sid is deciding to go for it. Meanwhile, Saberwolf is not deciding to go for it. We did have access to multiple ribbons early on in early treasure chests. So if we really wanted to do it, we could do it. So maybe that's part of the impetus for Sid to do this third part of the Magitech Factory, is to do all these battles to uncurse that shield. I think it certainly eases my mind to have the Moogle suit be synthetic and not real Moogle. So Narapa here for Shadow Sid, more of an annoyance than a boss. Remember, he's the time waste on the floating continent at the very end. Is actually susceptible to instant death, but has Reflect cast on him. So the only way to do it is with X-Zone, or we're going to go for a Chainsaw proc here on Sid's screen. Unfortunately, doesn't get it. The Chainsaw will proc instant death on 25% of its attacks. But Narapa is pretty straightforward and easy to kill, so there it goes. See you later. And that is Esper number 4 for Saberwolf. So both of our runners, 6 characters, 4 Espers. It is anybody's race here, folks. Yeah, there are a lot of Moogles in the Moogle room in the World of Ruin. Not so much in the World of Balance. I mean the other way around. They're in the World of Balance, not so much in the World of Ruin. We're nasty out here. We're just theory crafting. Alright, so Saberwolf is also going to take his minecart ride. Let's see what our reward is at the end of the Magitech Factory. Hey! Strago crew, stand up! GB Matt! There it is. Strago a dance. So Boogie Down Grandpa decides to keep him on the bench, and we got a Yeti, a dabbing Yeti, Umaro. Question from the chat, what are the requirements for the tower? So the requirements are in gold on your overlay, so that's 6 characters and 9 Espers. We currently do have our 6 characters, although Shadow Sid will have 7 when he's done with this dabbing Yeti. And there is a thing called a Kefka Tower skip, which means you'll skip right to the statues for the boss gauntlet, and you only do 4 fights instead of your normal 5 plus walking. If we get to 9 characters or 12 Espers, then we can get our skip. And with this seed, the way it's shaking out right now, with all of the characters that we've seen, it certainly looks like we might get to 9. Oh, and there goes Yeti. See you later. So this is the worst. When Yeti's up in the air, it seems like he takes forever and a day to come down. I believe Umaro will do jump after a certain number of physical attacks, and I don't remember what that number is. I think it's 5 or 6. It's not really very high. And with our offense right now, it's mostly physical between the Atma weapon, and actually I don't know what the other characters in Sid's party are doing. I know Locke has got the Atma weapon as of now. That is his 7th character with Strago. So Strago will give us 3 different checks. Fanatic's Tower, where the gimmick is you can only use magic inside of the Fanatic's Tower. There is an optional dragon there. However, you have to walk all the way up to get a high tier item at the top, fight the boss, and then walk all the way back down. So it's a bit of a lengthy check. Question from the chat. What's the dragon counter for? So the dragon counter is just for our knowledge of where the scaling is of the enemies in the game. So every dragon that gets killed is equivalent to recruiting a character or an Esper. So for every character, Esper, and dragon our runners get, the enemies increase by 2 levels. So right now, both Shadow Sid and Saber Wolf, their enemies are level 11 times 2 or 22. You can also require dragons as part of the unlock for Final Kefka or as part of some other condition, but we don't do that here in our standard race set. There you see Saber Wolf taking advantage of the offering with the Atma weapon and the fact that the Yeti does not like fire. Toasty Yeti down in 3 shots instead of Sid's multiple swings. So you can really see here the snowball effect from Saber Wolf. Taking on much less free progression early on in the game is allowing him to take these bosses on faster and faster. However, both of our runners are tied with progression 4 and 7, so it is still anybody's race here, folks. So question from the chat, there's no reason to kill a dragon. So one of the reasons to kill a dragon is because dragons give a huge amount of XP. They will give 50 MP, which essentially means that you can learn almost any spell, unless it's learned at a ×1 rate. They will also drop their vanilla item, which is usually a pretty decent one, and they will additionally drop another high tier item because they're considered checks. So if you're looking for just an item to use, a really good item, whether it's like a sword or a good piece of armor or a good relic, you could decide to take on a dragon. Most runners will do it most of the time for the XP and the MP benefit. Strange Enemies question, when does it end? So the goal of the randomizer is to defeat Final Kefka, just the same as in the vanilla game. So the final battle is the same as normal, whereas all of the other boss battles are shuffled amongst themselves. And in this particular case, our runners need to get 6 characters and 9 Espers in order to take on Kefka. And here's our Katana Soul fight for Sid. Behemoth suit in the South Figaro prisoner spot there for Saberwolf. That is another one of Celeste's checks. Celeste also has the Opera House Disruption, where Ultros tries to push a weight on top of all the people down below, which is not very nice. So I don't see any numbers over Sid's head anymore. That means that he's uncursed the shield. And with somebody with the Atma weapon, that's a pretty smart maneuver. Atma weapon will do damage based on your character's levels. And it actually does less damage as you get less and less HP. So it will always do its maximum damage when you have maximum HP. And it'll start to tail off from there. Looks like Saberwolf is going to choose the Search the Skies option. So this allows him to fight the Doomgaze spot, and it is one of our statue bosses here. Oh my goodness. Thankfully, this statue boss is weak to fire, so that's what we're going to use for the beginning part of this. However, there is a second phase of Doom where he gets the image status and he gets the reflect status. That means that magical spells will come back at you, and it's very hard to hit him with physical attacks. Saberwolf has the Offering, though, and Offering will go through the image status, because Offering doesn't care about image. And he also has a jumping character, and Jump doesn't care about the image status either. So those two characters will be able to hit Doom no problem. Realm has tools, so Realm could use one of either Drill or Chainsaw to do the trick. Not really quite sure what Celeste has. She is in the front row. So maybe she has something? Unsure. But this is arguably the harder part of the Doom fight, the second phase here. And as soon as I say it, Saberwolf knocking him down. Huge damage coming out of the Atma Weapon offering user. Sid is also going to have the Atma Weapon offering online now that he just defeated Katana Soul in our Narsh Monster in a Box here. I have personal beef with Doom, so it was very nice seeing Doom go down really fast. And that's Magicite number 5, Shout for Saberwolf. That's an important one for our final battle. That will petrify everything on the screen. And there is part of the first tier of Final Kefka that is susceptible to being petrified. Looks like Saberwolf, since he flew over the Triangle Island here, is going to set his party down to 1, and he's going to head into Zone Eater. So again, everybody in the chat, how many bridge tosses are we going to get from Saberwolf? Shadow Sid went through unscathed. We'll see if Saberwolf gets the same luck here. Oh, and unfortunately, Realm gets frozen on Sid's screen. The only way to get rid of the freeze status on your party is to actually hit your own party with fire. Thankfully, we have some Fire 2 spells, so we could use that to thaw out our Realm. See if the Chancellors behave here for Saberwolf. So I'm trying to think at this point, what checks have we not seen? We haven't seen the Opera House disruption. And we haven't seen any of Strago's checks yet, which is the Fanatic's Tower, Ebbett's Rock, and Burning House. Saberwolf getting 0 again. These runners showing why they are part of the Potion Division after all. Saberwolf going for a much safer route here with only doing a 2-cycle. If he can get through the door. Oh! Okay, the 3-cycle. Yikes, Realm, why are you hitting yourself? So that's part of the problem of Doom's second phase, is that the reflect from magical attacks, it hurts. It's kind of annoying. And that is Esper number 8 there for Saberwolf. 8? Wow, that's 6. Schwans. Learn how to count. So if you're interested, ff6worldscollide.com is our website. There's a link to our Discord where you can get involved in how to play the game, or you can get involved with broadcasts and stuff like that. So normally I have co-commentators and co-trackers, but tonight you guys are stuck with just me. Stop spell on Shout there. That's nice if we run into the 2 or 3 bosses that are susceptible to stop. And that's Doom down for Shadow Sid. That's going to be his 6th Esper. And again, this is anybody's race. So Sid has not bought the Tizen Thief Esper yet. And I'm trying to figure out what Saberwolf has not done yet. I don't think Saberwolf has gone through the Serpent Trench yet. That was another Esper, right? So that, I think, is the difference between our runners here, is that some of them have not completed some of the other checks that the other runners have done. And it looks like Saberwolf is heading to the Opera House disruption here. Nobody wants to do any of Strago's checks. Feels bad for Strago. I certainly would prefer Ebbett's Rock over this check. I only really like doing the Opera House at the very beginning of Seeds. I hate doing it any other time. Meanwhile, Sid is going to be disappointed with what is at the end of Daryl's tomb. So this part of the Opera House is flicking the switch over here on the wall, running all the way back over to the other side, and dealing with the attic rats or the roof rats, the rafter rats, if you will. So you can dodge them, but if you can dodge a rat, can you dodge a ball? We'll see. So these are forced encounters here, which are kind of annoying because they waste time, especially when there's this many on screen and they slow down all of the animations. Yeah, Opera House is much better with Y NPC set to remove or X zone because you don't have to head all the way over the switch and head all the way back. You can just yeet the door out of the way. So interesting point brought up from chat here. Will Sid reset out when he sees it's just a cat hood? He is going to save before going there. I doubt he visits this monster in a box now, because we've got the one item that normally we look for in monster in a boxes. Yeah, so Saberwolf did go to World of Ruin Jador, but did not show us if there are any espers in the auction house. And Saberwolf hitting all the kitties. Somebody call PETA. Not very nice, Saberwolf. I know you are a wolf and all, but leave the cats alone. Meanwhile, it's a tap dancer and martial fight over here for Sid. And he's not resetting. He is going to take the cat hood. There we go. Saberwolf making it through with only 3 encounters. 3 or less is usually good for the Opera House. You don't want to get the 4th or the 5th. You really only get the 5th if you're trying. Alright, so while Saberwolf is killing cats, Shadow Sid's wearing hats? Cats? Wearing cats for hats. Oh my gosh. Alright, and we're going to hit an Atma weapon with an Atma weapon here on Saberwolf's screen. A little lightsaberception going on. Looks like Sid is heading over to the Zen Thief, so he'll get himself yet another Esper here. And that is Atma weapon done. Can be very difficult if you let him take a few more turns. Sid pulling into the lead there with his 7th Esper from the Zen Thief. And we'll see who drops down and is going to rescue Maria. The Opera Floozy. It's a soldier sprite, so this is going to be either an item or an Esper. And I'm hoping for Saberwolf's case, it's insanity, that it's not an item. There it is. Siren. That is a very important Esper. That will allow us to nullify magic on tier 2. And it also has magic power +1 as the stat bonus, so that's a very nice one. Oh, I just saw something out of the corner of my eye on Sid's screen. Illumina's for sale. What shop is this in? So that'll give something for Celeste to do. Little gauntlet hyper wrist action for that Illumina. And with a Minerva on, she's pretty well equipped. So Illumina will do the same damage from the front row as the back row. So even though Sid put Celeste in the front row there, he doesn't have to. That was in World of Ruin to Zen. Oh man, I know Saberwolf was in there. He just must not have checked that shop. Speaking of checking a shop, we're going to check the auction house here. Glowing stones are available, so let's bid on some items. So in the auction house, there are 4 different items. There's one that's $50,000, and that will show up 50% of the time, and that is the Doom Darts here, is the $50,000 item. Oh, excuse me, no, it's not. There is a $20,000 reward slot, a $10,000 reward slot, and another $10,000 item. This right here is the $10,000 item. So normally you would never want to buy this because this only increases the chances of you getting the unskippable imp robot cutscene. So 50% of the time he'll get the $50,000 item. This looks like it might be one of the reward slots. So this is the $20,000 reward slot because Gem Box is a high tier item. So the one Esper in the auction house is the $10,000 reward slot. So this will at least get the $20,000 reward slot out of the auction house. In the World of Ruin, the items come out of rotation once you purchase them. In the World of Balance, that does not happen. So Saberwolf has purchased the $20,000 reward slot and the $10,000 item slot. So he has left the $50,000 item and the $10,000 reward. So 50% of the time he's going to get the $50,000 item. 25% of the time he's going to get the $10,000 reward slot, and the other 25% of the time is going to be the Imp Robot. So let's see which one he gets here. He's smartly saved, because if he got an Imp Robot, he doesn't have to sit through the cutscene. And this is a very, very expensive Water Edge. Is Shadow Sid also in World of Ruin Jador at the same time here? Oh, Saberwolf going to pass on this item. Does he not have enough money? So the problem is that this item will show up a majority of the time. Like I said, it will show up 50% of the time. 25% will be the Esper that he wants, and 25% will be the Imp. So I'm not liking his chances here unless he buys that other one. Yeah, so this is that Water Edge again. And he's going to reset. So for Saberwolf, he either has to scrounge up 50k plus another 10k for both the Water Edge and the Esper, or he's going to have to press his luck. Anybody remember that game show? No whammy, no whammy, no whammy. So it looks like Saberwolf is going to leave here, and he's going to peek at Fanatic's Tower. So Fanatic's Tower is always a character or an Esper reward. So let's see what's at the bottom. It's a soldier sprite, so that means that this is an Esper at least. He's going to march his way up Fanatic's Tower, and he'll be at 8 Espers when he gets to the top of this here. Yeah, I saw a documentary on Press Your Luck about how there was a guy who figured out what the pattern was in order to win all that money. Pretty dope. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty interesting stuff. There's also an optional dragon up here, and I think Saberwolf might have been looking for it, but he is 1 tier 2 low, I believe. So I have an idea I want to run by you guys about how to make Fanatic's Tower more palpable. I know that there are treasure chests on each of the parts of Fanatic's Tower, but I think if we have Fanatic's Tower just be the bottom part, followed by the dragon tier, followed by the top tier, I think it would be much more palpable for people to actually go here. And thankfully, this is an ice dragon, and we have Fire 3. So this is going to be easy. Almost damage cap there. So that's my idea of how to make Fanatic's Tower shorter, is to just take out the map tiles that represent all the in-between tiers. You only have the bottom, followed by the dragon, followed by the top. So that cuts out, I think, 3 tiers. Yes, that means that there are 3 or 4 less treasure chests, but nobody goes to Fanatic's Tower for the chests anyways, right? That's another cat hood. And the vanilla drop for the Ice Dragon is, I think, the Force Shield, right? Not the Force Armor. Yep, Force Shield. See, I don't mind it being hard in the sense of, like, you can only use magic. I just think walking up these stairs is just boring for both racing and for actually doing it. Unless you really want to give your thumb a workout. That's really the only reason to do it, is to practice your blitzes and your Hadoukens. I like Fanatic's Tower more than most, and I really don't like it all that much. It is, like I said, it is guaranteed progression. There is a high tier item at the top. You can also fight a dragon to increase your levels, which Saberwolf did, so let's give him another dragon there. That is an economizer at the top, which is not a great item. And Shadow Sid is inside of the auction house, and he's got the $20,000 reward slot. Yeah, I think Square at this time in their game design had a fetish with stairs. There is the Shinra Tower, right, in Final Fantasy VII, climbing up all those stairs. Like, why? Why, guys? Why do that? And it is Welk at the top. Welk. So this fight should be over rather fast. Listen to Vix and Wedge, don't hit the shell. But if you actually cast lightning magic, the shell will absorb lightning. And the shell only does damage when it gets damaged. So by casting lightning on it, if you accidentally hit the shell, it will absorb it and it won't actually damage you. Yeah, I think you could still get the scale of how tall the tower is. Like, if you look at the outside, there's still that, like, background in the back, right? That scrolling, like, weird night sky. So it will tell you, hey, this is, like, way up in the clouds sort of thing, but you don't have to do all this walking. Alright, so Sid is getting his $50,000 item. So all he has left in the auction house is the $10,000 reward, the $10,000 item, and the Imp Robot. So Shadow Sid's in a much better position to get this last Esper, or rather his 8th Esper now, versus Saberwolf, who will have to buy the $15,000 item and then bet on the $10,000 one. So it seems like he's collecting some chests here, probably to sell for money in order to go back to the auction house, if I had to guess. All right, let's see what you got for us, Mr. Auctioneer. Oh, it's an Imp Robot, and that's why we go outside the town and save. Yeah, the problem with teleporting or warping out of Fnatic's tower is that there's an event bit that gets set when you enter this map that says you can't use fight and you can only use magic. And if you warp out, that event bit never gets cleared, so you'll always be forced to use magic. So if there was a nice tile to teleport down to, that could potentially work. Magic power +2 on that Phantom from Fnatic's tower. Very nice. Yeah, so that's why I suggested, I think a happy medium would be get rid of some of the map tiles in between. So do the bottom, where you go up the tower at first. Then that goes immediately into the map room with the dragon. And then the next map room, or the next map tile, is the very top. This way you only have 3 towers instead of 6. It will just make it much better. However, I'm a terrible programmer, so I don't know if I could actually even do that. There we go. Shadow Sid finally getting his Esper there on the 5th try. So he'll be tied with Saberwolf. Meanwhile, Saberwolf is heading up to the world of Ruin Narsh, where he could fight an optional dragon, but more importantly, the Tritok Cliff location, which is actually not character gated, and it will only reward an Esper or an item. So he's hoping that he gets his final Esper here and does not have to set foot in the auction house ever again, because he's already feels like he spent too much time there. That is the Bismarck Esper for Shadow Sid, bringing him up to 8. I don't mind Espers in auction house, but yes, certainly have to plan around it. Whenever I have Realm, I want to get multiple value out of the auction house. And it looks like Saberwolf also reset his timer. We're having all sorts of timer goodness going on here. Meanwhile, it is the spicy chicken. The spiciest of chickens. Poltergeist. Thankfully, we have Stop. Or we should have Stop. I know that Stop is on an Esper. So Shadow Sid is making his way up Fnatic's tower, so this will be his go mode Esper once he hits the top. So if Saberwolf gets an Esper here, then we've got a race. Otherwise, Saberwolf has got to do some magic in order to get himself an Esper. I'm trying to think of the spots that he has left to do. I think our next character, by process of elimination, has to be at Kefka at Narsh. No, it doesn't. We still have Burning House and Ebbett's Rock. Never mind. So Kefka at Narsh, Burning House, Ebbett's Rock are the 3 checks that we haven't seen yet between our 2 runners. What I used to do with Auction House is I used to actually go around and do much more looting, like 20 minutes worth of looting instead of almost 10. Get enough money to go buy the Tzem Thief and the Auction House Espers, and that's how I would start pretty much every seed. Because you can gain so much by getting Esper bonuses if you find them on those particular Espers. Yeah, so we started pretty much at 8:03, maybe 8:04 p.m. Eastern. We're now at 8:20, so we're about 1:16, 1:17 probably. That's first dragon down for Sid, and oh no, it's a disaster! A Genji armor from the Tritok Cliff. So it looks like Saberwolf is going to do his Warp Stone. And he's going to head out here. So like I said, Saberwolf's options at this point that we know of are Ebbett's Rock, Burning House, Kefka at Narsh, and of course, he's got ye old Auction House. He knows there's an Esper here. He's got to buy that $50,000 item. So it looks like he's going to sell off some stuff here. He's got 73, so he's got enough money. But he also has a very large inventory. So one of the weird things about Worlds Collide that you sort of have to get used to when you're playing this game is, unlike normal RPG games where you tend to hoard a lot of stuff, with Worlds Collide, if you don't use it, you're just going to lose it by the end of the race. So you might as well sell it if you're not going to actually use it, or if you've got it, throw it. Sid, meanwhile, waiting for the boss here at the top. So both of our runners will get their go mode very shortly. It's just a matter of what will be faster, fighting a boss or RNGesus. Saberwolf left out his crystals in the moonlight tonight, folks, because he got the Esper first try this time. Very nice. So 10,000 GP for this one, and that is going to be go mode for Saberwolf. Unlock Final Kefka complete. Unfortunately, he does not have either 9 characters or 12 Espers, so he will not be getting skipped. And at this point into the race, he's about an hour and 20 minutes or so into the race. You kind of want to be at Kefka's tower at this point, at least for me, when I feel like I'm at this point in the race, I want to be in KT. Meanwhile, Shadow Sid just has to walk all the way down Kefka's Fanatic's tower. Forgot where we were for a second here. Has to walk all the way down Fanatic's tower, and he'll get his go mode Esper as well. Ooh, buying some Mega Elixirs. Very nicely done from Saberwolf here. Mega Elixirs will be key on the final Kefka fight. He will cast the spell Fallen 1 on your entire party after the first turn. And the best way to counter that is to use a Mega Elixir and get your party up to full health and full magic. So this is the Ultros League Potion C going at it right now. If you would like to join the Ultros League, there still is time to sign up. We are still in our first week, so you could still sign up. ultrosleague.com is the link to that website. ff6worldscollide.com is the link to our website. And there's actually another event going on right now as well. It's called the Coliseum. And the finals for the Coliseum will be broadcasted tomorrow at 11 p.m. Eastern on FF6 Worlds Collide's Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/FF6 Worlds Collide. As we see, Saberwolf is our first player into Kefka's Tower here. So in case you're enjoying yourself and want to watch more Worlds Collide, we have YouTube channel. We have a Twitch channel where we broadcast races. So come check us out on all of our different mediums. And here is Sid into the tower. So this is anybody's race, folks. This is awesome. So Kefka's Tower here, we're forced to split up into 3 different parties. The party all the way on the right, party number 3, will normally fight 3 bosses. The party in the first and second slot will normally fight only 1 boss. So what runners tend to do is they tend to put one of their strong characters in party 1, one of their strong characters in party 2, and then 2 of their strong characters in party 3. Because party 3 is going to fight the most bosses. And this is also why we give our runners 3 Moogle Charms, so they don't have to, every day I'm shuffling between multiple different relics like that. So what I normally do is I normally put at least 3 people in party number 3 here. So this way, you have one person who's basically just what I like to call the Moogle Mule. That's all that they do, is just carry the Moogle Charm around. Alright, it looks like Saberwolf is going to take his 3rd party here up to the Inferno spot for our first boss in our boss gauntlet. So what bosses have we seen in the seed so far? We've seen Guardian, we've seen Inferno, we have seen Doom, and we have seen Poltergeist. So those bosses we cannot see in Kefka's Tower. However, there is a bevy of other bosses that I didn't mention that could still be here, that could still be not so good. Boys and girls in the chat, I can't commentate or curse it if I don't say it, but who do you not want to see our characters face here in Kefka's Tower? As we see Kefka at Narsh coming down off of his high horse to greet our runners at the start of Kefka's Tower. That's very nice of you, Kefka. This boss is not going to be a problem here for Saberwolf. Just 2 turns of the Atma weapon offering user, and Kefka's going to escape, run back up the tower to fight him another day. So that's 1 boss down for Saberwolf. One boss I particularly hate is Air Force. So I'm going to go ahead and say it and commentate or curse everybody. You're welcome in advance. Ultros can... not Ultros. I'm sorry. Air Force can just decide, hey, this fight is over, and just instantly wipe your party if he does the launcher move into any of his AoE attacks. So it looks like Sid is doing a bit of a different strategy here. He overloaded his 3rd party with all 4 characters. So what he's going to do is he's going to clear a path through the middle in Kefka's Tower with his full party, and then warp out and use only half of his party on the left side and half of his party on the right side after fighting through the middle section of Kefka's Tower. He's deciding to take on an extra dragon here. So Will Jin with a question in the chat. Does this start at the same time each week? Yes, we strive to do Final Fantasy VI World Collide streams every week, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on one of the SpeedGaming channels. Today we were gracious enough to be on the OG SpeedGaming channel, but most of the time we end up on 2, 3, 4, 5, or even the Ocho sometimes. I'm totally kidding. But we're on SpeedGaming at some point. There's another set of fixed dice for Sid, and that is what his Setzer is going to do now. So his Setzer was really not doing a whole heck of a lot. It looks like he's got the economizer on him, but Setzer's magic is not usually all that great. So that is something that Shadow Sid's Setzer is doing. Meanwhile, Saberwolf's Setzer is using the Boots and Horn and Aura Lance. So Sid is slightly further along in his maneuvering his parties through Kefka's Tower, but remember, he's going to have to warp out of Kefka's Tower and go back through it a second time with a split up party 2 and 2. Whereas Saberwolf is taking his full party of 4 and splitting it up 2-1-1. So it's slightly different here, the approach and the tactics. Shadow Sid will lose some time having to walk back through Kefka's Tower a second time. However, he might gain some of that time with having more of his powerful characters to use in his boss gauntlet battles. So again, anybody's race here in this particular seed. All right, so Sid is going to show us who our second boss of our boss gauntlet is here with the Guardian spot. Oh, and it is one of our more difficult bosses, Atma. Thankfully, he has his full party with him, because this boss can be a bit of a pain. We'll see how Saberwolf decides to deal with this. Although with offering Atma weapon, not a whole heck of a lot is going to slow him down here in this middle path. His Atma weapon, in addition to being based off of your levels and Saberwolf having that experience egg, it also ignores defense. So Atma usually has decent physical defense. Not great, not terrible, but Atma weapon can pierce it. Unfortunately for him, Atma will absorb all of the non-standard elements. So the 3 standard elements are fire, ice, and thunder or bolt. Everything else, pearl, poison, earth, wind, and water, are things that Atma will absorb. And the Excalibur is a pearl-based sword, so it does pearl damage. So that's why you saw him heal the boss there accidentally. Poltergeist statue is an Ultros. SP Ridley, congratulations. We have seen an Ultros. So this is actually Ultros 3. If we had our sketch ability, we could actually get rid of this fight right away. We don't, but we have fire, and Ultros is weak to fire. Seafood soup. There he goes. So at this point now, Sid is going to head up to the save point, and he's going to warp out and reform his party to have 2 in Party 1 and 2 in Party 2. Alright, so Sid's going to head back in the tower here. After a little pit stop, it seems. Where is he going? He's going to pick up those Mega Elixirs as well. I feel like I'm on like Supermarket Sweep or something. With our characters going to the shops and stuff. Was that a good enough reference for you, chat? I'm trying to make the good ones here. We're digging deep. Finally taking off the experience egg because it does nothing in the final battle. And Saberwolf, meanwhile, just has 2 more bosses to go. Same as Sid, but he does not have all the walking back through Kefka's Tower to do. However, he only has 1 decent party member for this fight here. And it's Setzer, who's got the Boots and Aura Lance. Thankfully, this is only number 24, who immediately confuses Gal. Thank you, Gal, for hitting yourself back to normal. I didn't really get to see what was on the lore list, so let's see. Aqua Rake, Pearlwind is pretty good. So that's a healing lore. That will heal you for the amount of HP that the caster has. Oh, Supermarket Sweep reference? Yeah. So, Worlds Collide is very customizable. You can, if you want to... Gal, stop healing the boss. You can, if you want to, make everything in the shops for free. You can also make the shops completely empty. You can make the chests completely empty too. So it's really very highly customizable, which is great. One of the things that I know that I like to do with particular options is called a barter seed, where everything in the shops is, let's say, 2,000 gold, and everything sells for 1,000 gold. So you just basically have to trade 2 items for 1 item, which is pretty cool. So we do have races every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern here on SpeedGaming. And tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Eastern, so that's Thursday, 11 p.m. Eastern, we will be having our Coliseum Finals. It'll be the first of potentially 2 matches between Falcon Hit, our upper bracket champion, and Zenobian, our lower bracket champion. So that's on FF6 Worlds Collide on Twitch. We're also on Twitter at FF6_WC, Instagram at FF6WC, and our website is ff6worldscollide.com. And the final boss for Saberwolf is Dullahan. So, no Magimaster, no Air Force, no Goddess, no fun. No, just kidding. So yeah, this strategy that Shadow Sid is employing would have been much better had these 2 bosses been much more difficult than just these bosses that we're fighting now. With Dullahan, and I already forgot what was the other boss on the other side. Oh, number 24, that's right. Alright, so with Dullahan out of the way, Saberwolf is all set to do battle against the final boss here. So the final Kefka fight is the same fight as it is in the normal game, where it's split up into 4 different tiers. However, in this case, we do not want to have one of our party members die. If they die in between tiers, you can't resurrect them, and one of your scrub bench players will be substituted in. Unlike in the normal game, where you're leveling all of your characters like up pretty equally because they all have different parts in the game where you can only use them, in Worlds Collide, we've really been using only 4 characters the whole game. So if one of our characters dies, that's going to be a big blow to our final party. Thankfully, we do have a lot of good stuff to use against the final boss. I know Saberwolf found the Siren Esper, which is going to be pretty nice for him. He also has access to instant death in the form of chainsaw procs, and I believe he also has access to the X-Zone spell. It was either him or Shadow Sid that took Larry to the other dimension. Smith, I like that. Scrubstitution. Big fan of contracting 2 words together like that. So it's time to set the party order, and in this case, the person that is in slot number 4 goes first on tiers 2, 3, and 4. So first part of this battle, since the long arm is susceptible to petrify, we're going to use Shoat in an attempt to petrify that long arm, and we do. It is now dead, and it's out of the way. The next part we want to kill is the face. It is weak to fire, and will death counter with Quake if it's left last alive. So that's our next priority here. And then that balled up fist is actually weak to water, so we don't have anybody throwing any water edges, and we don't have any water spells, because Aqua Rake is a lure that we're not really using. Ooh, Locke getting bullied there. And remember what I said about Atma Weapon. It will do your maximum damage when you're at maximum HP, but whenever you lose HP, you get hurt. That's kind of obvious, I guess, but it hurts you even twice, because then your Atma Weapon won't do as much damage. He was doing 5,000 a swing. Now he's barely getting to 3. Saberwolf does cast Regen on Locke, so he will gain some HP every 4 seconds, which is very nice. And that will counteract one of the abilities that the head used, Slip Hit, that will deal damage over time. And nice targeting from Locke there, and that is tier 1 done. Now we're on to tier 2, which is 4 different parts. We already have Siren for Mute for Magic, so Magic is the guy all the way on the left pointing off the screen there. He hilariously can only cast magical spells, but is weak to Mute, so that'll basically nullify Magic. Tools, which is the, it's kind of the thing underneath the cloak there in the middle, that is weak to instant death, so we not only have X-Zone, we have Odin summoned to come out to potentially deal with Tools, but first we're going to see Siren, and this will nullify Magic. So with Magic gone and with Tools dead, we just have two parts here. The Tiger Head is weak to Ice, and we'll cast some nasty AoE spells, and will even zombify your party as well as freeze your party. So we want to get rid of that one next. And that blue character there with the yellow ponytail, that's hit, will death counter with 10 physical attacks, and just does physical attacks. You can actually use stop on hit if you really want to, but his attacks really aren't all that big of a deal. Meanwhile, Sid is done with his last two bosses, so he'll be stepping up to final Kefka soon. Oh, Locke gets frozen here, which is not fun. Thankfully, we have access to Fire, and Fire will just thaw out Locke. Saberwolf decided he didn't want to have to deal with hit, so he's just going to use the stop spell, which is certainly something you can do. And with Tiger dead, there's only one part that could really hurt us right now. Excellent targeting there from Locke, just damaging hit instead of magic. Yeah, so I believe there were 3 different Espers in this seed that had speed +2 bonuses. So that's why we got a lot of fast characters here. Locke is naturally pretty fast, but especially in this seed. I think Saberwolf, 3 out of the first 4 Espers he got had speed +2 on it. So that is Magic dead with the Dispel death counter, and this is the 10 hits death counter. So Saberwolf's already up to tier 3, just as Shadow Sid is starting his fight here. So Shadow Sid will have a little bit of a rougher time, I think, with this tier here, because I don't think Sid has access to Mute or Siren. I think he's got access to instant death. Probably in the form of an Esper summon. Yeah, so Saberwolf was able to get an experience egg off of a dragon fight in Phoenix Cave. So that's why his lock is at a much higher level than Sid's lock. And levels are the most important thing, especially for an Atma weapon. So here we are on tier 3. So there's 2 parts of tier 3. There's Girl, who will heal, as you just see with Pearl Winds, and revive the party. Absorbs all elements and is 9,999 HP. So that is our first target priority there. And then Sleep is our second target priority. Locke apparently didn't get the memo, though. He has 40,000 HP and will start casting some nasty attacks when he gets under 10,000 HP. Like Meteo and Train. And will death counter with an instant death physical attack called Calmness. Now, I did not see if we have what's called Calmness Protection, which is usually Golem or Fenrir. So this will be interesting to see what Saberwolf does here. I know he has access to Phantom, but I think he's just going to go for it here. Because he's casting Meteo, which means he's under 10,000 HP. And 1 turn from Locke is going to kill him here. As Sid takes care of tier 1 easily and is up to tier 2. And oh no, disaster! Oh my gosh! Oh no. Oh goodness, you hate to see it happen. The big damage dealer and Celeste both down with Calmness. So that means that 2 scrubstitutions, I'm stealing that, Smith, thank you very much, will come in off the bench here. Gogo and Strago. Yeah, I think it would have been worse if Realm also would have gotten taken out instead of Celeste, but yeah, this is pretty bad. So we'll see how Saberwolf recovers from this. Normally 3 out of 4 isn't bad, but 2 out of 4 is pretty bad. So Gogo can mimic spells, which is nice. However, he will mimic the jump if you queue up jump afterwards, because jump takes precedence over everything. And Gogo's magic power is probably not very good because Gogo's level is probably not very high right now. So that's our problem with Gogo, is Realm is cranking out like 6,000 and 7,000 damage there with the spell. If it was Gogo doing it, you would see it would be nowhere near as high. Thankfully, we got Setzer up in the air to avoid some damage here. Realm is just going to continue to pump out the spells. And it looks like Saberwolf is smartly taking off the elemental shield because he is going to want to throw it at some point and then have Gogo mimic it. So Kefka has 60,000 HP, casted Fallen One as you saw. We'll counter with some nasty attacks, but here, during this phase, which is called the Charge Up for Goner, he will not counterattack. So Saberwolf takes off the Thunder Shield to crack it for quad 9s. It's going to mimic that with Gogo to do some damage. It won't be quad 9s, but it'll be pretty good damage. And let's see if that's enough. Unfortunately, it's not. So we do see Goner coming off here, which is Kefka's quote-unquote ultimate attack, but it does split damage, and it does not ignore magic defense. So Setzer and Realm will probably survive. Strago and Gogo are definitely not. So now is the time where we need to be really careful, because Kefka will counterattack with Hyperdrive or Havoc Wing on these turns. If he gets under 10,000 HP, he may counter with Ultima. So we got to be very careful. But there's the crack. There's the POW. Saberwolf pushes through and is finished with a time of 1:42.51. Get your GGs in chat for Saberwolf. Really nicely done there from Saberwolf. Well, we will certainly ask him in the interview if he did the math or if he just YOLO'd it. I think if he would have eaten an Ultima, he would have survived with those high HP levels. Ultima is usually around 2,000 to 2,500 damage, so I think he might have been able to survive it there. But we could certainly ask him as we are joined by Saberwolf in the booth. Congratulations on your first place win in this particular race here. How you feeling? He's feeling like he forgot to unmute his mic. If you're talking, I cannot hear you. And he's gone. Well, hopefully he could sort that issue out and we'll get him back here. Go give our runners a follow. Saberwolf Gaming with 2 M's, so I guess it's Saberwolf Gamming, actually. And Shadow Sid on Twitch. Sid, meanwhile, is up to tier 3, and we'll see what he decides to do, having no calmness protection. Must be that new internet of his, too fast. Very funny. So just for reference, where is his pod?
There we go.
Oh, there you are. Congratulations, Saberwolf. GG.
Oh my god. First ever win on a restream.
And I think that deserves a follow, don't you think? Let's give this wolf some follows. So, thoughts on the seed? How are you feeling there with the auction house hell that you put yourself through?
Well, it wasn't just that the auction house was hell because I didn't get the Zelfra luck. Is that one of the Espers was also an item, so that made it even worse. I mean,
yeah. So
what was that?
So there is a $20,000 reward slot and a $10,000 reward slot.
Yep.
And in this case, the $20,000 reward slot was an item and not an Esper's. Oh no, we got Sid with double Medio here. Stay up, Realm. Woo! So Realm fast and quick. So we're gonna see how Sid decides to get out of this here.
Alrighty.
Yeah, that counter is ticking down over lock, but with quick he throws the ATBs. He's using the Phantom Summon, and it looks like he's going to go for it here. So,
yeah, I got.
You got double calmness here, which
I was like,
awful.
I had the Phantom on Setzer ready to go and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna beat him to hell. I'll take one calmness. Doesn't matter. I got the rest of my team's like fine. No, double calmness, no block. I'm like, oh, thanks, guys.
Thankfully, Realm was still around, because I think if it would have been Locke and Realm, that final fight would have been much more difficult. But definitely kudos to you for taking off the Thunder Shield on your jumping user and using it as a consumable and then mimicking it. That was a great usage of Gogo's very short lifespan on that final fight there.
Yeah, and also my other big play that I did was when I got Realm, so that I had tools. No, I had Noise Blaster already in my item pool. Going back to Narsh to do the Noise Blaster on the Katana Soul to get the offering.
Yeah, that was a really nice play there as well.
I was like, pat myself back.
Yeah, unfortunately, Shadow Sid queued up his Atma weapon user before the Mega Elixir. Doing a grand total of 400 damage to the final boss there or so. Anyway,
the shocking thing for me was like the regular Kefka, which I think was at Inferno. Like,
yes.
How did he have so much HP?
Yeah, I mean, you killed him in 2 turns instead of 1. It's not like Kefka was not hitting the gym. Okay, for that one, I think you were okay.
Yeah. But no, I mean, overall, the seed felt good. I mean, well, it didn't feel totally good because of all the dead checks. Like, my God. Like, I was at 6 characters, 3 espers. Bam, bam, buddy.
Bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Shadow Sid, 147.42. So that was less than 5-minute difference between the two of you. This was a really good race. You guys were chasing each other a lot of the times here during the race. So very nice.
And Sid, I will say right now, Sid is way better than I am. Like, way better player than I am. So I feel good from that, I guess. And I appreciate Sid also jumping in on some of the other multi-live streams we've done for, like, charity and stuff like that. So I appreciate running with him all the time.
Well, you could tell it to his face, because Sid is here in the booth as well. GG, Sid. Congratulations on your time. Very nicely done.
Thanks.
A bit of excellent skill display there, using Quick with Realm in order to get off the Phantom to get around Calmness. So that was really nicely well played. I have only been able to pull off something like that once, and it just amazes me every time somebody does that. So that was really nice there.
I'm glad I got to show something off today. So
you also got to show off what happens when you forget to put commands on Gogo's menu.
Oh yeah, that was embarrassing.
So
I can't run either.
So Gogo went solo to the Velt, and when Celeste showed up, Sid couldn't feed the girl.
Nope. Or run.
So that was.
You're actually locked into that. Yeah, I had to hit her.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Don't smack my girl.
Well, while we figure out what the restraining order will be for you, Sid. So yeah, that was really nicely done. Saberwolf, you decided to take the Aura Lance with the Dragoon boots that you found in a shop, and you got rewarded early with the Dragon Horn. Even though it was a dead check from Owser's Mansion, you certainly put that to good use for your Setzer throughout the seed there.
Yeah, I saw the Stout Spear, which I know is a good basic spear, but I know I could get more damage on the Aura Spear like later on. I already knew Setzer could use it. And as soon as I saw the Dragon Horn, I'm like, oh, that's it. And I got a lot of... Also, the dead check early Cat Hood also helped, too, with the amount of money I was getting from all the fights and everything. Like, I think in
Here comes the money!
Yeah. I think when I went to Opera House, like, I think every single fight I was fighting was giving me 28,000 gold.
Yeah,
every single fight there.
Yeah,
so I was just money bags.
Yeah.
There you go. Did you buy
Unfortunately,
the
it did not help you with the auction house.
What? Excuse me?
Oh, there's Illuminous for sales.
I never find the Illuminous, man. Where was Illuminous?
So I was going to pivot to Sid. So in Zen, Saberwolf, you did pick up the Esper that was the thief was selling. However, you did not check the weapon shop where there were Illuminas for sale. So that's what Sid was doing with Celeste towards the end of the seed. So Sid, you did have a little bit of a harder go when it came to offense because your Setzer before you got fixed dice from the dragon in Kefka's tower was just casting magic. How relieved were you finding both those Illuminas and the fixed dice, even if it was later than you would have wanted?
I mean, so by the time I found the Illuminas, I already had Fire 3 going on 2 of the 3 characters that I was going to use magic with. And I kind of already relegated Setzer into just, maintenance bot, heal bot kind of guy.
Yeah.
It was nice to have, I think, one single roll of fixed dice got thrown this entire seed, and it was because he was confused. He did like 5k with it. So
that's always really nice.
Yeah.
You did a lot of free progression very early on in the seed. You had 6 characters before your first fight. So has that been, a strategy of yours, is to grab some early progression? Because even though it makes the enemies harder, you also get a lot more XP when you eventually take them down.
So not always. It was a gamble. I was kind of hoping I could put some Revivifies to use, and I was able to, but it definitely locked me into not being able to do any more like checks or bosses until I got some grinding in.
Yeah, because there was a few fights there where it was just like, oof, insta dead, right? I think there was the armor bosses that basically just killed 3 of your 4 party members right away, and then you got into Siegfried, right, as a as a random encounter somewhere. So you had a really rough going of it. So
Elite River, I believe.
You did Phoenix Cave early, whereas Saberwolf did it later, because I think you were railroaded into either Phoenix Cave or Kefka at Norsh for your next character, and there was an experience egg on the dragon there, which gave you, I think, an advantage throughout the seed, because you were able to use that with the Atma weapon on lock, and your lock was doing a lot more damage than Sid's was.
I never got that experience egg.
Well, lock would have been a lot higher in the experience save if I remember to re-equip it after I went to the go-go check. I mean, my lock probably would have been level 70 by the end of this race.
Oh, jeez.
If I remember to re-equip it.
Yeah.
But yeah. The experience egg early on, and also the red cap to fill out the HP gap in case he got low to keep the damage up. Those 2 things really, really helped. And the reason why I didn't bother going to the shops there where the Illuminas was because I was like, my damage is online already.
Right.
Like I got my ammo weapon lock. I got my jumping Setzer with the Aura Spear. Realm is my heavy duty magic person, and I got Celeste who had the Excalibur for stats, and I was just using her as a secondary caster.
Yeah.
So I had my full team ready to go. There was no sense of going out and buying other things, other than going back to the Returner's Cave to get like 3 Mega Elixirs because I had so much freaking money.
Did that too.
Yep. That's yeah. Both of you guys were like, "Yep, Mega Elixirs, need them for the final boss." Sid, you decided to uncurse the shield, whereas Saberwolf you did not. So let me ask you, Sid, with 10 battles, was that sort of your limit? And did you was getting the Atma weapon sort of more of the impetus for you to uncurse that shield, or do you usually do it with 10 anyway?
So I usually do it with like 6 or 7 and under. The Atma weapon was definitely that. Oh, I have Atma weapon. I know where offering is. I'm going to need this. So I put it on and uncursed it.
Yeah. It also helps when
10
you
was
get
a little
3...
high for my taste.
It also helps when you get... 10 is too high. What is your magic number then, Saberwolf?
It was 6 or 7, and I saw 10, and I was looking at my party. I was like, I have, which was at the time, Lock, Setzer, Go-Go. No early fights, no leader with the side soldiers, no Imperial camp, no opera house. There was like none of that. So I was like, I'm just gonna sell it for money, which I think I sold it for earrings is what I sold it for. So yeah,
not a bad investment there for sure. It did help that you guys, there was like 3 ribbons I think total. In the early looting, so it definitely was screaming, "Uncurse me, please!"
Yeah,
but
like the second chest, I think.
Yeah. So, Saberwolf, any other final thoughts on your run here tonight?
Other than I know one of our fellow runners posted in the wrong chat, so I know both of our times are behind theirs. So I know it's not the greatest time, like overall, But yeah, I mean, I feel good. I mean, it's below 150, it's below 145, so that I'm happy about that.
As of now,
so,
you both are in as of right now, you both well, Saberwolf, you're in third, and Sid, you're in fourth, relative to the other runners. So a third place is still a pretty good time. Fourth place is still good. You're still in the money, right? Obviously, with the way that Ultros League is set up, you get 9 points for first, 6 for second, and then 4, 3, 2 down the line. So you're at least getting some decent points. It's not 9 or 6, but you you could afford to get a couple of 4s and 3s throughout the weeks and still.
Hey, third is a personal best for a week. So nice. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm cool with that.
So Sid, yes. Any other final thoughts from you?
Final thoughts.
We both go.
So this was my second time running using BizHawk instead of SNES 9X, and today I learned some new hotkeys.
Oh yeah, speaking of hotkeys, he was like, because he's like, my thing corrupted and died. Like, what's the current time of the timer? So I typed to him in the chat what the current timer is, and when I did that, I forgot my hotkeys or my keypad, so that reset my timer, and I'm like, oh god, neither one of us have a timer.
Oh my god!
Comedy of errors.
That is incredible.
Oh, I gotta rebind that.
Yeah,
amazing.
I forget why exactly I was going to, but the reason mine broke was I was going to type WTF in our race chat or something that happened.
Oh,
but that took a backseat to apparently the F button in BizHawk is a frame advance and that pauses it, and I didn't know how to unpause BizHawk yet. So if it was another key, it took a few minutes.
Yeah, because I was like, well, Sid's timer is still going, but his screen is not. So I know his stream isn't frozen. So that was definitely interesting for sure. Hey, technology. I guess we should start calling you Cyan instead of Sid from now on. Huh?
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Little bit of a streamception. Little bit of a streamception when we had Sid pushing Sid into a minecart ride at the end of the Magitech factory there. Always fun.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
That's Sid action, man. I mean,
those Mode 7 graphics are incredible, aren't they?
Can't go wrong.
Nope.
So
yeah. The other thing I can say is like GG's, and I really did not want to do any of the struggle checks. I was trying to prevent myself from doing any of those.
Yeah. I'm going to download the seed and see what's at Ebbets Rock. I'm very curious because neither one of you went to do it, and I'm like, there's probably another character there, given that we, the only places we didn't look were Burning House, Kefka and Arsh, and Ebbets Rock. So there's probably another character in there. But
did you do Sherbet's Trench?
Yes.
I did. It was dead, I think.
Oh no.
It wasn't a character, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't a Magicite.
Glad I didn't do that one then. Oh man.
Yeah, you guys did mostly the same stuff. I know that Saberwolf had access to Siren, which definitely sped up your tier 2 a little bit.
Oh, that would have been nice.
Yeah, I got Shoat, Odin, and Siren, so I got 3 of the big ones. I had Phantom queued up, got double columnist, because I was like, you know what? Locke's doing like 4,000 damage a clip. Let me just queue them up, and I'll take 1 columnist, and nope, it was 2.
Yeah, that always happens. The game knows.
Oh, the game knows.
The game always knows.
I waited till it meteoed until I did my quick Phantom because I lost count.
Oh, I had quick. I forgot about that. I almost never use quick. I forgot. I always forget that one.
Yeah, so I think there was one question from the chat for you, Saberwolf. Were you counting damage after the goner on your Kefka fight, or did you just YOLO it and figure, it's probably just about dead?
Okay. True story. I never count. I've played this game so many times over the 30, 20 plus years, whatever long this game's been out for. I just have a feeling, and I just know where I'm at on the Kefka slider, on where his health is. And I knew that after the goner, I knew he was around 10,000 left, and that's why that one last Fire 3 was enough. Yeah. And I was trying to queue up another shield for Strago, which is why I was trying to check the shield on Realm, but I guess I had it still on Celeste, so I lost in the columnist. Right. So if I was able to queue up that shield on Strago, I think I would have gotten him before the goner went off.
Yeah, probably.
That's fine, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure heal up, use another Mech Elixir because I had so many of them, and then do the Fire 3, and I knew it was good. But
yeah, if you're packing Mega Elixirs, just
just
eat an Ultima. Go for it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, you also had enough HP, I believe, at full health. They were like you were 2,700. So I'm like, my rationale was, even if you do get an Ultima, you're probably going to survive because it's usually around 2,000 to 2,500 HP. The problem is then at that point you're like, okay, he's under 10,000, and as long as he doesn't like double Havoc Wing or do anything like that, then I'm good, you know.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, I want to make sure, just chuck the one Mega Elixir for both of them. I knew it was under 10,000. I knew my Fire 3 did about 8,000. So if I was about 1,000 off, in case I got Ultimate or Havoc Wing, I would have been good. So
Yep.
that was just a protection thing there.
All right, ultrasleep.com.
I remembered my WTF.
You typed it in now, 20 minutes later, right?
Yeah, no, I remember it. It was an opening boss against shoot, it was a boss fight, and it opened up and just like wiped 3 of my 4 parties.
Ooh,
it did like three spells in a row before I could get a single attack off. And I had no
spicy
idea what
chicken was extra spicy today, though, too. For me, at least.
Yeah.
Oh,
there was Sid, you definitely had some rough fights in there, I think, from taking all of your free progression. Locke and Setzer were having a very hard time stay alive, you know, towards the beginning of your seed. So
yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
yeah,
ultrasleep.com is the website. There is still time to sign up. We're only in week 1. I want to thank both Sid and Saberwolf for allowing us to broadcast you onto the worlds, giving it your all here on the racing stage. So really appreciate you guys doing that. Thank you so much. And tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Eastern, the final match 1 of potentially 2 between the upper bracket champion Falcon Hit and the lower bracket champion Zenobian over on FF6 Worlds Collide's Twitch channel. So make sure you check that out if you enjoyed what you watched here. And I think that's going to do it for us. I've been the Schwantz27. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on some Speed Gaming channel somewhere. And catch you later. Bye-bye.